When was the last time you seen an Adam's apple? Like a real one. It's rare you're gonna find you a nice Adam's apple, a pointy one at that.
Are we seeing the death of the Adam's apple?
Has anyone else noticed how no one has Adam's apples anymore? In the 60s and 70s, every man walked around with one. But take a look at boys today, they are literally not developing them anymore. And what's causing this is crazy, and it's actually impacting more than just Adam's apples. Men exposed to industrial chemicals in their tap water grew up with penises that were 12.5% shorter than unexposed men. They also had smaller testicles and lower sperm counts. The Adam's apple in men is literally built by testosterone at puberty, but without enough testosterone, it never forms. Everyone is blaming microplastics, and yes, those are also real, but the actual worst stuff is what they're spraying directly onto the food. Take atrazine, for example, one of the most used pesticides in America. It is literally so estrogenic that a Berkeley scientist proved that just 0.1 parts per billion turns male frogs into fully reproductive females. And you have millions upon millions of people drinking this from their water right now, and the runoff also ends up in your conventional oats, rice, vegetables, wheat, and many other foods. But the label at the grocery store doesn't literally say sprayed with weed killer that chemically castrates male frogs. The label just says 100% whole grain oats. If you feed your child this stuff for every single meal for 10 years, then his body never gets the testosterone signal that it needs to finish the job.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right. We came across a very interesting topic on TikTok and we decided to bring it here on our platform, right? And a lot of people are asking the question if whether or not you've noticed a lot of men nowadays do not have the Adam's apple. There was a time growing up when it was a rite of passage for you to be taught about how different genders mature, right? For men, it was broad shoulders, and Adam's apple was one of those things you are assured to have when you go into puberty, right?
Right. In today's episode, however, a lot of people, both men and women, are coming forward to address this concern. It might be aesthetic for some people, but it is a serious case for others, right?
Right.
And most of them are actually blaming whatever the government is doing to the foods that people are consuming nowadays. And not only that, others are blaming it on science, but most people are seeing it as just an evolutionary change that is happening right now.
Right, but we don't want to talk a lot, guys. Let's watch this because people have theories they believe, and others claim they all sound to have some truth in it, right? And others claim to have evidence of it, right? Let's watch what we prepared and then we come back and talk about it. You can let us know your thoughts and opinion. Also consider subscribing. Before we go, I also want to ask, have you noticed any other thing that you could credit to evolution when it comes to women, both women and men, other than the Adam's apple when it comes to men?
And for those who are believing that it is the government doing something to the food, do you think that, okay, what theory do you support? Because the two main theories that are going to be argued here today are of the ingenuity that our food is being passed through because of the government, and the other solution, people are thanking it due to evolution. So where do you lie between the two options? Let's watch and then you come back and talk about it.
This is when you know you're a real man. You got one of these. Okay? You got one of these in 10 inches. You get what I'm saying? I got both. Okay? So some of you guys, you have one and not the other. Trey has neither.
It just came out in the Epstein files. The elites were purposely trying to lower testosterone in men so that men can't fight back, putting
Shocking.
estrogen in the water, making men very passive and weak through social media. They're telling them, oh, your masculinity is toxic and you should actually just be super soft and sweet all the time and gentle and never fight against anything. You have to realize that men are much more logical than women. There was no masculinist movement. There was a feminist movement in order to propagandize women because they knew that women were the easier target because we are more emotional. And that's how the left...
I don't know if that's 100% true, but I do know for a fact that there was a propagandized movement funded by the Rockefellers.
Well, one of the things they told me was that, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I'm pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, you're an idiot. And I said, why am I an idiot? He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He says there were two primary reasons. And one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up the family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching it. And so those are the two primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble event.
So I heard a content creator just the other day state, ladies, when is the last time you saw a really nice sized Adam's apple on a man? And I thought about it for a minute and I hadn't seen any. And so I went to Instagram, I went to TikTok, I went to Facebook, and I started looking at some of my favorite male content creators. And the only one that I was able to find with a nice sized Adam's apple was Jamal from Shan and Jamal. That is it. And then I heard again in those TikTok streets that there is a chemical. Thank you to the black lady that said that. But there is a chemical called astrazine that is being put in all of the foods, right? And this chemical, it attacks male testosterone and turns testosterone into estrogen. And that is the reason why our boys are no longer being born with Adam's apples. Okay, but it gets even, because I got into the rabbit hole on this one. Then I said, well, oh, damn. Hallelujah, Black Jesus. I'm over here in these Asian streets. What I need to know is, am I feeding my son things that is turning his testosterone into estrogen? And yes, do we want our government to do that to us? Hell no, but shit, you got to trust yourself these days. So I looked at the list of countries that have banned astrazine from being put in their foods. And I need y'all to like really hear what I'm putting down. Here are the countries where it has been banned in: France, Germany, Italy, Austria, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Belgium, Netherlands, Spain, all the countries in the European Union. They got to be in the European Union. Not all the countries in Europe, but all the ones in the European Union will not use astrazine. Any countries that are in the Gulf Corporation Council member countries, if you are in the Gulf Corporation Council member countries, astrazine is not used in your country. And Asia and South America have prohibited it. But it is still widely used in America, still widely used in Africa. Now, why would they be trying to turn the men into women? You see, when these babies is coming out being born, sitting up here talking about, listen, I feel like I'm a woman on the inside, they not lying. They not lying, but it may not be nature that's causing that shit. It could be our government. And that shit is, that be up. Why the hell are they doing that? Y'all put y'all thoughts in the comment, because I'm like, and then listen, I went in further with Vietnam. I said, okay, well, when did Vietnam ban it? Has it ever been used here? Vietnam banned it in 2001 because they noticed what it was doing to men. But America is putting it in all of its crops. Anything with green, like spinach and corn and potatoes and all the stuff that people that look like me constantly eat. And that's why these men is on these podcasts talking about women, because that's the kind of stuff that people that have lots of estrogen do. Women get on podcasts and talk about men. You see what I'm saying? And now men are getting on podcasts talking about women, but it's not because they have testosterone. It's because they have a lot of estrogen.
So the people are talking about why men don't have pronounced Adam's apples anymore. And the theories are going wild. They're saying it's the testosterone. Testosterone levels are down. The men are sassy. You can see it in the way they act. You know what I think? Look at the way we're looking at our phones. Like this. We're looking at our phones like this. We've sucked Adam and his apple to kingdom come to the back of our throats. That's all it is, I think. I'm no scientist, but that's what I think. Whatever it is, testosterone, chromosome, lower your phone. Lakers in 5.
Have you noticed that, like, literally nobody has Adam's apples anymore? Seriously, go watch a movie from the 1960s. Every guy looked like he swallowed a little golf ball. Today, half the dudes on TikTok look like they moisturize with oat milk and literally apologize to their houseplants every day. What on earth happened? The Adam's apple. It develops during puberty as testosterone changes the voice box. No testosterone signal, no dramatic neck fruit right here. Now here's where things get interesting. Atrazine is one of the most widely used herbicides in America and has been detected in water supplies all across the country. A researcher named Tyrone Hayes became famous after studies showing extremely low doses of this affected the sexual reproductive systems in frogs. They worry about the skull and crossbone chemicals. And meanwhile, the stuff affecting our biology often arrives looking completely normal. It's in the water. It's in the agricultural runoff. It's in the foods we assume are healthy. And it's exactly where nobody pays attention. As a father, that's what absolutely gets me. I spend my time looking at the quiet ones, the ones that nobody's talking about. For my family, organic whenever possible, especially higher exposed stuff with glyphosate. A quality water filtration system is so key, my friends. It's worth being a skeptic when it comes to your own water supply. The most dangerous things alive are rarely the things that look dangerous. I'm Drew Canoli. Like, follow, and
When was the last time you seen an Adam's apple? Like a real one. It's rare you're gonna find you a nice Adam's apple, a pointy one at that.
Are we seeing the death of the Adam's apple? I'm Dr. Saramed. Let's look at the facts. So if you translate Adam's apple to doctor speak, it becomes the laryngeal prominence, and that is of a cartilage inside the neck which holds the vocal cords. As us boys become men, a combination of factors including genetics and exposure to testosterone causes that voice box to grow, leading to longer, thicker vocal cords, producing a deeper voice and a sharper angle at the neck, making that Adam's apple. But are we seeing it less commonly? Well, there are no numbers on Adam's apple specifically, but interestingly, just this week, data was presented at the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology in London, which showed that between 1972 and 2019, the average male testosterone levels dropped by 54%. That's around a 1% decline every single year. So even though we don't have the data to say that has led to fewer Adam's apples, it could be connected, but more importantly, it could also explain why sperm counts have also been declining rapidly. Is this something you've noticed? Let us know.
Guys, why have I literally just seen a video of a woman going that men don't have Adam's apples?
I tell her chill, man. She can't be coming on the app to spread false information and that. You get me? Like, some man don't have it, some man do. You know what I'm saying? The niggas that do are going to pet their heck. Hey, I'm joking, bro. You get me? Like, some man have it, some man don't. And if you don't, then you're slow. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's really natural. I mean, it's either literally you have it or you don't. You can't really work for one. Wait, hold on. Guys don't know I'm on this sleeper build sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? They don't know I'm on this side. But I was built for calisthenics. Don't let me do 50 right now. Oh, I'm about to run out of time. My fault. Yeah, my fault. But yeah, minute mark, 10K soon. Then we get to the rondos.
I'm a transgender man, right? And a new insult that I've been getting in my comments a lot is that because I have an Adam's apple, I'm not actually transgender. And I just think that is very funny. If you didn't know, an effect of testosterone is that your voice gets deeper, but in that your Adam's apple will also grow in size as well and become more of the male shape, you know? I've always had an Adam's apple, but now that my voice has gotten lower, my Adam's apple has gotten a little bit bigger. And now, because I have an Adam's apple, that doesn't make me transgender anymore. So I just think that's very interesting. It's a new take that we've got here, in that I'm faking being transgender because I have an Adam's apple. So I guess it's like a compliment in a way, because I do pass so well, and it's really hard for people to tell that I'm transgender now. But yeah, I thought that was really funny, and I've been seeing it a lot, so I just wanted to address it, you know. Newsflash. I am still transgender just because I do have an Adam's apple now. So If you like this, follow along. I share more about my story and journey as a transgender man every single day, and I will catch you in the next video.
Okay, so I seen the girl talking about how men no longer have like Adam's apples and stuff like that. So I'm like, that's an actual valid point, and there has to be a science about this. So me being me, right? I got to doing my research, right? Y'all, the chemical is called astrazine or something like that. I'm gonna put it up here. The chemical eats away at the male testosterone. It's in the chemicals, the fruit, the sprays, the things that they put on vegetables, water. These men are literally losing testosterone, y'all. So we're not tripping when we say that they're sassy. Scientifically, they literally are slowly and surely picking up the traits of female, and their testosterone is decreasing. Y'all, we are mentally dating each other. We are mentally dating each other. And if that don't scare you, babe. So the attitudes, the talking back, even the bedazzled clothes, it's all making sense now. They think they women, and they can't even help it though. Whoa.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about the videos we just played you. Yeah? Would you agree that a lot of what we eat right now it's impacting the development or our evolution? Personally, I do believe so, because when you're looking at the kind of whatever is being used during farming, you cannot compare it to back then, the days going back, you know.
Yeah, even fertilizers. Let me just give an example of Africa, to be specific, Kenya. The kind of fertilizers being used right now, most are very different compared to how our parents and grandparents grew up, because our grandparents knew how to make organic fertilizer using cow dung and other types of waste materials around the farm, right? And then there came a time where the Kenyan government prohibited that way of living in order for farmers to start buying fertilizers from the government, to which there was even evidence that some of those fertilizers weren't good for the growing soil of food and the soil that they were being used for.
Right. They normally say whoever feeds you controls you, and that is 100% true. And honestly, I'm not surprised hearing about the Rockefellers, because at the end of the day, we all know, it's common knowledge that
it's not common knowledge, but it is alleged
that there is the 1% who controls what happens in the world and whatever trajectory the world decides to take, right? And right now, let's say, for example, if you were to say that we are going back to barter trade and money is no longer valuable, you know, it's because somebody somewhere has sat down and has decided to control billions of people and how the world is gonna go, you know. And I heard people talking about whatever happened during, you know, COVID-19, and there was a lot of speculations, which I'm not gonna get into, but you can already know, or you can already tell how that conversation is going to go. So is it safe to say that there are people who sit somewhere and decide that the world should take this trajectory, and that is what happens? Because even when it comes to education system, our ancestors used to survive, and they used to live with their own structures, and they used to have their own ways of passing down information to make sure the next generation has been equipped with, if it's healing abilities
from herbs or whatever was available for the community.
Exactly.
They would teach that to their kids, you know, formulas of cooking and all of that. But then came modern education, and we thank God for modern education. But
what did it take from the people?
Exactly. And at times, people usually say that there are some things that are just noises in the system that children are taught, but it won't really help them long run in their lives, you know.
Right.
And another thing I wanted to say is, at the beginning of this episode, we actually asked you if you supported those people who are attributing the change to whatever we are eating, especially the foods that we are eating. And then we asked if you would support the ones who are equating these changes to evolution.
Evolution,
Personally, I feel like both are not wrong. Both are correct, because when
adaptability, you adapt according to the environment you're in. For example, when you look at evolution when it comes to the human hairy body, right? I do believe that our ancestors during the time when we didn't have buildings that have been built like this where we are at, right? They used to live in huts. They used to live
there's some
under
people
trees.
who still live in huts, and they had good reason, especially here in Africa. People who live in huts, they usually live in huts because these huts, they act as a regulator when it's cold, also as a regulator when it's hot.
Right. And I also remember there was a time when I feel like people are living a self-sustainable life, right? But because of greed, things were introduced because some people want to make profit out of it, yeah? If you hear the Rockefellers talk about how the system of, not the Rockefellers, but people who discovered, right? How the system of education came about, you can't help but question, is it fair that someone gets to sit somewhere and make decisions like this and it affects millions of lives, because this is somebody's body. And also remember, there was a time before we had hospitals where you go to spend money. Before health insurance became a thing, the people who are living, and we had midwives who used to help women give birth at home, and they had home remedies. That was until people decided to privatize some practices, and then came about saying that if you're found practicing this and this is illegal, you're gonna be arrested. And so people decided to evolve into systems where you have to go visit a hospital in order to get certain services, you know.
And I just can't, for the sake of me, ignore people who are saying they feel like something is being done to the food that we are eating right now, because we've seen a lot of Americans argue the fact that right now there are fake foods, there are fake chocolates in their market, right? And this reminds me of a movie we once watched. It's called The Last Sheep. For those of you guys who don't know what that movie is, or who've never watched that movie, it starts like the way we started at 2019 and
with the pandemic,
and it ends terribly. It starts bad, but it ends terribly.
A lot of lies,
In that movie, they also do something to the food of the general food, and that food does something to men. So when people here are saying that this food is making men docile, I can understand, because it's something I've watched in movies, and more often than not, people usually say before something is done, a movie will be created about it to do experiment or to see how the
population will receive it,
right? So I really do understand why where these people are also coming from. So guys, please look for that movie, The Last Sheep, and if you watch it and like it, you can also come back at the comment section and just let us know if you've seen any similarities between
what is happening in the world right now,
right, and the video that we've played you today. And then in the matter of evolution, I can also attribute it to evolution other than our food being messed with. It's also about evolution, because if you compare people of nowadays versus people of a long time ago, they were more hairy a long time ago than we are hairy right now, right? And also our feet, people from a while back, from a long time ago,
had longer, what do you call that, the part of your foot that you used to step
down, the bottom of your foot, the bottom of their foot
was longer,
and some wider. Especially it depended with your geolocation, right? For those who are in Africa, your feet were carved like that,
really,
at the bottom.
Really?
For those who are living in rocky areas.
Okay, I don't know about that. I just know that they were longer and wider to help with the stability of when you step on the ground. But right now, our bodies have adapted to us wearing shoes, soft life, because everything was commercialized and walking barefoot was made to look like
demonized.
Exactly. But guys, let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here, and we'll catch you on our next episode. Thank you so much for always tuning in.